All right, welcome to week number 4 of EDT 540. This is the next to the last week of the course, if you can believe it. We are almost about ready to head into the final stretch of the class. So I'm just going to use this video to give a brief overview, like I've been doing, of the work for the week and the topic for the week as we head in towards the later part of June here. Before I go through the week's work, though, I do want to just give everybody a heads up on just a couple of things more generally. I am going to be traveling over the course of this next week. I'll be away from Connecticut Monday through Sunday, but that should not change. If you have questions, concerns, please continue to reach out to me with those. I just will letting you know that it may take me a slightly longer to get replies back to you while I'm traveling. I should still be able to get back to everyone within a day or so of an email or a remind conversation or whatnot. But it may take me just a little bit longer than it has been. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. Connected with that, or sort of related to that, I have been uh, working my way through grading projects and forums and all that have been submitted that are part of the grading for the course. And I'm going to continue to work my way through that. You should be able to see, if you go into the gradebook in Blackboard, you should be able to see results and feedback and rubrics and everything from the various tasks that you've been submitting. If you have questions about anything, comments, just want to kind of get more in-depth feedback on anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. And I'm here to kind of help. For me, grading feedback is one of the more important aspects. I wish that in many cases a lot of this stuff wasn't sort of in the summative mode, but we we just don't have a lot of time in this course to kind of keep things going. But my feedback is always in the interests of acknowledging the work that you've done, and then if there are ways that I can suggest future improvements on work, to get that in there too. So please just let me know if you've got any questions along those lines. I've got a nice long 5-hour train ride tomorrow, so I'm hoping to get through a good portion of what's left that I haven't gotten to yet in terms of work that's been turned in already. So in any case, that's just a couple of brief updates for the week in general. In terms of the week itself, the focus this week is on technology integration plans. This planning is something that unfortunately oftentimes gets overlooked, especially in educational settings when it comes to technology, and at least from my perspective, is the culprit in a lot of the failure of educational technology in many cases. Um, the latest and greatest comes on the market. A school district runs out there, jumps on it, buys it, throws it into the classroom without any real plan for how that integration is going to work, whether the latest and greatest technology is actually going to solve a problem that's there, and things like that. So, particularly because I know many of you are in ed leadership, this is the kind of thing that would not be unlikely for you to be involved with down the road if you're working as a department chair or a school administrator, of having to go through the process of deciding what technologies are going to be appropriate and how to incorporate them into the classroom. So we're going to take kind of a very focused practice of that this week. We will be looking at technology integration plans from that are district level technology integration plans. I've pulled up 3 from Newington here in Connecticut, from Tahoma, and from Whitefish Bay, just to give you some examples of what a district-wide technology integration plan would look like. One thing you might want to do, although it's not sort of officially part of any assignment this week, is just see whether your school has a technology integration plan. A lot of times those can be found on district websites or central office websites, just for your own curiosity to see what your district has done in terms of technology planning or what kind of big picture they have. So we're going to be looking at district-wide technology plans. The one that you are going to develop in the end is going to be on a much, much, much smaller scale, just looking at some single piece of technology in your classroom or in your workplace that you want to develop a plan for, whether that's locating a new technology that you can bring in that will help address an issue you've identified, or whether maybe there's already a technology in your classroom that you just feel is being underutilized or was not, the training wasn't provided for it, or something along those lines. So this is going to be very similar in some ways to the first week of the course with the instructional design plans. There is a lot of crossover between the two. Planning is key in both. You need to analyze your situation. You need to know what problem you're trying to solve. You need to set some goals and so on. So there is going to be a fair amount of this that's going to look familiar from that first week, but obviously with a slightly different focus. So as I said, in terms of the work for the week, there are 3 technology integration plans you're going to take a look at. Those are right on the Blackboard website. And once you've had a chance to look over that, there is the 4th of our 5 discussion forums, where you're going to create a post. And mainly what I'd like you to do is to try to focus on, what do you see across the 3 plans that are maybe similarities? Do you notice certain things that sort of definitely get addressed in technology integration plans? Do you see common philosophies or common approaches between the 3? Or if you look up your own districts and can find one, you can fold that into the discussion as well. So in this case, this is going to be a discussion forum where each of you is going to create your own thread and kind of start your own conversation along those lines. By this point, I'm sure we're all pretty familiar with those. Then, in terms of sort of supporting that analysis of those existing plans, I've got 3 instructional pages that kind of focus on the 3 broad pieces of most technology integration plans. The first is analysis and goals, which is about, like we did with our instructional design plans, identifying a problem, analyzing the audience that's being impacted by that problem, trying to figure out what the need is, and then out of that trying to develop a goal. This is not instruction, but SMART goals are still relevant here in terms of having something where once you've introduced this technology or gone through the training where you're able to measure and see, did the technology do what we hoped it was going to do? Did it help address the problem or fix the need that we had identified? So this page just kind of goes through some basic thoughts along those lines. There's a second page that has to do with the actual technology piece of the technology integration plan. This has gone over, but there's basically 2 types of technology integration plans. One is when you are bringing a new technology into a situation to try to address a problem. And the other is when there's an existing technology that's already there and the issue is more along the lines of training. So in this technology section, depending on what kind of plan is underway, it's going to look a little bit different, but basically it's about identifying or describing the technology that is a part of the plan. And then the final section gets into the issues of training. How are we going to make sure that the people who have to use the technology can use it? If you're working on a plan where training is the issue, this is going to be probably the most important of the 3 sections of the document. And then along with training, looking at some other just sort of general organizational things like the general timeline for the integration of the technology, any considerations that need to be taken into account in terms of maintaining or budget or some of those sort of practical considerations. So you'll work through these 3 pages, having read through the existing technology integration plans. Then we get on to our actual project for the week. There's a page that's got all of the details. You're going to be creating a document much like you did with the instructional design plan. It's going to be in 3 sections that mirror the 3 sections in Blackboard. So your first section is going to be about a needs analysis and setting your goal for your technology. Then you're going to be either selecting a technology or describing the technology that's already in place. And finally, then talking about the training and the timeline and other practical matters. So your document will break down into these 3 sections. And you'll be submitting it through the Blackboard assignment, just like we have done over the last several weeks. So that'll give you the sort of the wrap-up details of what the actual technology plan document will look like. So that's the bulk of the work this week. It's going to look like a lot in Blackboard, but that's just because there's a lot of pieces to this. Each of the technology integration plans is on its own link. The 3 pages covering the 3 different parts of the technology integration plan. So don't panic when you first look at week 4 and see all of those things there. It really doesn't work out to be uh, as much as it looks like. So don't panic. The final thing for this week actually has more to do with our final week, which is our choose your own week. So to get us started on that, last week I had asked you just to start thinking about a possible topic. This week I'm going to ask you to provide a journal entry. I'm using a journal in Blackboard. It's essentially kind of like a discussion board, except that in this case, the journal entries are only between you and me. So this is going to be just you getting a chance to kind of run your ideas past me so I can see what people are going to be working on and what they're trying to achieve. And that'll help me maybe get some resources out there for you as well. So for this journal entry, you're going to be picking a topic. This is a recap of the information from last week in terms of what the topic should be or could be. I'm trying to leave it pretty wide open as long as it relates to educational technology and it's something that you want to learn more about or be able to do better, then we can probably make it work out. Then there's some guidelines just about the post itself. You're going to basically be talking about 3 main things. First, you're just going to describe the topic that you want to address. So if it's a piece of hardware or a piece of software or some training or some research or whatever, that'll be the first part of your post. Second part is basically a pre-assessment. I just want you to kind of honestly assess yourself for where you fall in with whatever this particular topic is you've chosen. There's no right level of existing experience. It could be something you've never really dealt with at all before, or it could be something you've got some experience with. You are going to have to demonstrate growth, so it should be something where you kind of have an idea of where you are now, and then we'll be able to demonstrate where you get to in the end. And then the third part, because I love goals, is to set a SMART goal for yourself about what you would like to achieve over this 5th week of the course. So, by the end of the course or by the end of week 5, I will be able to, and then, figure out what your goal's going to be. It should be, as I just said, measurable. It should be something that you can have some sort of data on in terms of where you started and where you ended. Um, but yeah, so just get a goal set for yourself. So your write-up, if that's 3 sections, that's whatever, a paragraph or maybe 2 paragraphs on each of those. Type it up in a word processor like Word or something, because this write-up is also going to be sort of the first section of your final document that you're going to turn in at the end of week 5, along with whatever product or artifact you've created from the week. So just, rather than just typing it right here in the journal, put it into a word processor, put it into a document, and just copy and paste it here. And that way you've got it to add on to when you do your week during week 5. So this is kind of phase 1. It's the goal setting and pre-assessment phase for the week 5 work to get that off the ground. And then week 5 is really going to be all about you working on whatever you've chosen. All right, that is the overview for this week 4. Good luck. Continue to reach out with questions or concerns that you have, especially as we start to feel like we're sort of heading into the final stretch. Keep an eye on what work is left to be done and what work there is to get caught up on. And I will be back in touch in a week as we head into the final week of the class. Thank you and enjoy your week.